All right, Shalom, Akim, Shalom, Shalom. This is your brother Zakaria Allah, branched out here in Williamsport, Pennsylvania. All right, come with another lesson through the Spirit. Lord willing, this be edifying to the Lord's elect. And before I get started with this lesson, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Ruach Kodash. Excuse me. All right, double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone who rule well and who teach well. Shalom to the Akim out there that's pushing the truth, that's laboring in the word, and that's pushing the gospel of the great kingdom that's soon to come. Shalom to the Akwat that's listening in, that's remaining true to the faith, and remaining faithful and submissive to their husbands and guiding their children. And shalom to the hopeful elect of the 12 tribes that scattered abroad throughout the four corners of the earth, you Israelite foreigners out there who live among the heathen and who look like those heathen nations. All right, but your lineage goes back to the progenitors of the 12 tribes of the nation of Israel through the line of your fathers. I want to say peace and blessings to you all. Barakatham. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump into this video real quick. All right, that was uploaded by Arrows of Indignation. Okay, 144. You can subscribe, you know what I'm saying, be up to date with many of the current events, you know what I'm saying, that he showcases in videos. And the name of this video is A Few Words from Retired Army Colonel McGregor, Colonel Douglas McGregor. Okay, it's insane. Babylon going to war with Venezuela. So let's listen into this. All right. And get a couple scriptures, man. Bear with me.
The problem is twofold. First of all, and I've done this before, I've compared it to the Normandy landings. You can't assemble a large force that you're prepared to throw at your opponent and let it sit for days, weeks, and months. At some point, you've either got to use it or not use it. Eisenhower was trapped into using it. He had no choice. They built this thing up over many months and weeks. Everyone was ready to go. The weather wasn't perfect. They knew it was going to turn bad, but you had to go. He went. I have been worried that that would happen to Donald Trump. Now, it is not impossible that someone other than his inner circle has sat down with him and pointed out some facts. First of all, Venezuela is huge. It's the size of France, Germany, and Austria combined. There are 30 million people living there. At least half or more of it is triple canopy jungle. Certainly the border, 1,380 miles with Brazil, is almost impenetrable. There are only a couple of places you can actually cross the border. Colombia, heavily mountainous, very difficult to cross through there, although there are more points. And now you risk the war turning into something that you never wanted, which is a Latino crusade against the evil white Yankees who come once again into Latin America to exploit them. You know, what a disaster. We need that like we need an extra hole bored somewhere. So,
Let's take that back.
heavily mountainous, very difficult to cross through there, although there are more points. And now you risk the war turning into something that you never wanted, which is a Latino crusade against the evil white Yankees who come once again into Latin America to exploit them.
And there you go. All right, that's one of the points I wanted to bring out. You know what I'm saying? The world is looking at America in a much different light. Okay, in these last days, as the scriptures say that the veil will be pulled from the eyes of the nations. You know what I'm saying? Let's go here to Isaiah chapter 25 and grab this real quick. All right. Isaiah chapter 25 and verse 7. It says, and he will destroy in this mountain the face of the covering cast over all people, and the veil that is spread over all nations. So the nations are able to. The Lord has pulled back the veil of secrecy and the veil of lies and deceit. You know what I'm saying, from the eyes of the rest of the world, because the rest of the world can now clearly see in real time that America is nothing more than a colonialist establishment. You know what I'm saying? That's maintained by taking over other nations. Okay. And this is going to be seen as another crusade where, you know what I'm saying, the Israelites of the northern tribes are saying, hell no, man, you're not going to do this to us again like you did before. You know what I'm saying? We got all these different places, Nicaragua, all right, Panama. You see what I'm saying? All right, so many places, man, and the spirit's been getting, the spirit has been moving through us, the prophets, to go into, their acts of colonial reign throughout their entire uh, 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 you know, what's the word? Their entire building. You know what I'm saying? The building of America has been based on this colonialist uh, way of moving, way of building, I should say. You know what I'm saying? Salaki, I'm trying hard to find the words, and I'm also trying to make this quick before I head to camp. But you know what I'm saying? The rest of the world can see this. The rest of the world is saying, you know what, to hell with this place, man. These guys are nothing but crooks. All right, because they'll tell you that this has everything to do with you know what I'm saying, with cartels and DRUGs. You know what I'm saying? All right, so we're taking out boats, we're taking out speed boats and all that stuff with a bunch of fishers, fishermen, and we're just that you're just going to put on the news that, oh yeah, we was stopping these illegal substances from coming into the country, when that's the last thing that y'all are concerned about, because here it is, your boy Trump just pardoned, all right, a man who's a notorious dealer. You know what I'm saying? A notorious dealer. So this is not about keeping illegal substances away from Americans. You know what I'm saying? This is all about oil. This is all about the resources, and everyone can see it. Everyone can see it. We've read it with confessions of the economic hitmen. We've heard the testimonies of former CIA members. You see what I'm saying? And so everyone can clearly see that this is the way that they're going. A last ditch effort to try and keep the failing dollar in in you know what I'm saying, in relevance, right? So continuing. Let's get this one more time.
Points, and now you risk the war turning into something that you never wanted, which is a Latino crusade against the evil white Yankees who've come once again into Latin America to exploit them. What a disaster. We need that like we need an extra hole bored somewhere. So, the bottom line is, I hope someone has gotten to him and pointed these things out. Because even if you were able to go in quickly, even if you were able to identify all the air and missile defense sites, all the radars, hit all the airfields, let the Marines come in and take the major international airport that's right next to the coast, and then fly in 15,000 troops from the Army to be a stabilization force, you've still got to go to Caracas. Getting to Caracas, even though it seems to be close on the map, is no easy task. It's surrounded by mountains. You've got to go through tunnels to get into the place. And if you can't use the tunnels, well, you got to fly in. Or I guess you could parachute people in. There are lots of crazy people in the United States Army that would welcome that and think that's great. But again, the opportunity for everything to go wrong is still there. We haven't even talked about putting in this Mrs. Machado. Could you actually do that? Will she survive the installation? We're assuming that you're going to get rid of Maduro easily. Well, the man never sleeps in the same place twice. You don't know where he is at any given point in time. He's very well guarded. If you can't get rid of him quickly and easily, you're not going to be able to put anybody else in. And then, of course, there's the possibility that the Colombians and the Brazilians and people from across Latin America all decide to come in as guerrilla fighters to support the people in Venezuela. The whole thing, frankly, is insane.
There you go. There you go. All right. The whole thing is insane. Okay, so let's get this in Jeremiah chapter 49 and verse 7, because this is this is the Lord that's mustering the host of the battle, as is written in Isaiah the 13th chapter. Okay, he's preparing this thing, man. He's getting these Babylonian troops, you know what I'm saying, these American troops spread abroad, tight just loosely spread, I should say. You know what I'm saying? It's like a rubber band. It gets weaker and weaker the longer it's stretched. You see? It gets weaker and weaker. And so there's a good saying from a book that I just bought. All right. It says uh the a chain is only as strong as its weakest link. All right, a chain is only as strong as its weakest link. And there are weaknesses within the whole of this administration's military force. All right, you know what I'm saying? Just don't. Hey, let me get this precept real quick. It's Jeremiah chapter 49 and verse 7. It says, concerning Edom, thus saith Yahweh Tazabawath, is wisdom no more in Taman? Is counsel perished from the prudent? Is their wisdom vanished? Okay? Is there any more wisdom in these devils? No. No. You know what I'm saying? No, because this is essentially just a damn fool's errand. You know what I'm saying? And it's all rooted in desperation. It's all rooted in desperation. Everyone knows that they're going in for the oil. Everyone knows this. All right? But they can't come out and tell the truth. They can't come out and tell that this dollar is just one disaster away from being completely demolished. They can't tell the people that. They can't tell the people that we have to go up in there for the soil. It's not about your safety and your security and your freedom. No, it's about this oil. You know what I'm saying? It's about these resources. That's what it's about. They can't tell the people that. All right? So there is no more wisdom in Taman, man. Everyone can see them in their colonial their colonial zone, I should say. You know what I'm saying? As they say, I'm in my element. And this is where Esau is. He's in his most comfortable position. He's in his element right now. You know what I'm saying? Going around and taking others, things that belong to other people, man. How long? And to him that ladeth himself with thick clay. Right? So it's only a matter of time, man. And what I was about to touch on earlier, um, the shit that's going on right now with Pete Hegseth, Aubrey, it's just an absolute embarrassment. An absolute embarrassment. I mean, we're talking about military strategies and battle, uh, battle blueprints and whatnot. You know what I'm saying? Just being leaked everywhere in every which way because this drunkard wants to you know add a group chat. You know what I'm saying? And include journalists by accident because his because he big fingered the phone. You know what I'm saying? This isn't a game, man. This isn't fucking um this isn't social media. All right, where you just tweet about what your next battle plans are. No, man. You see what I'm saying? And they say that this dude Pete Hegseth is the biggest national security disaster in any administration's history. You see what I'm saying? This guy is clearly on the bottle. Clearly, right? Let me get this real quick. Let me show y'all what I'm talking about. Bear with me. All right. So I'm gonna show y'all these two part clips, and you know what I'm saying. You judge for yourself if there's any wisdom in Taman. Okay, so bear with me.
I think Pete Hegseth wants to get fired so he can go back to drinking every night. I'm joking, except at this point, I'm really not. The only real flaw in that theory is that Pete Hegseth has probably been drinking through the job, considering his tenure as Secretary of Defense has been one long parade of scandals, screw-ups, and leaks that would make a competent administration bury him under a Pentagon parking garage. But this time, Pete Hegseth wasn't creating chaos with another leak. He detonated himself with a straight-up admission and then took a swing at Stephen Miller to his wife's face. It was a full-blown meltdown, and trust me, we're going to get into it. But before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video. And if you haven't already and you enjoy our channel, hit that subscribe button because it really does help support the work we're doing. Now, before we unpack why Hegseth thought attacking Stephen Miller in front of Mrs. Miller was somehow a power move instead of just proof that he's desperate, miserable, and out of allies, I want to start with the latest batch of hot water he's standing in. Because the news just keeps breaking, and it's pretty bad for Pete Hegseth.
It's a day that ends in the letter Y. It is another scandal day engulfing Donald Trump's Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth. Or at least that's what it feels like this week, but hey, it's only Wednesday. On Monday, Hegseth, with the help of White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt, attempted to throw Admiral Frank Bradley under the bus, saying he's the individual responsible for the highly controversial double-tap boat strikes in the Caribbean on September 2nd, which lawmakers on both sides of the aisle and lawyers and experts believe may have constituted a war crime. Yesterday, Pete Hegseth at Donald Trump's cabinet meeting seemed to endeavor to further embarrass himself, with Hegseth claiming, hey, I wasn't even in the room for that second boat strike, which was not exactly the impression he left with his former colleagues at Fox News when he went on their airwaves the day after the strike took place. Brings us to today, almost a full circle moment for Pete Hegseth and the Trump White House. The initial massive scandal, which embarrassed the country and Donald Trump and his national security team, Signalgate. It was a massive national security breach. It was made possible entirely by the sloppy and haphazard nature of Donald Trump's national security team when they shared.
This from The Atlantic. The Trump administration accidentally texted me its war plans. That's crazy, man. That's crazy. And this was back in March. This is back in March. The very fact that this guy has not been fired by now. All right. Listen, man, the Lord is at work here, man. Clearly. The Lord is at work. You know what I'm saying?
National security information, including war plans. And then former National Security Advisor Michael Waltz accidentally added Jeffrey Goldberg, a journalist from The Atlantic, to that group chat on Signal. A damning new report is being released from the Pentagon's Inspector General. That is the top watchdog at the building that Hegseth is in charge of running. That report says that Pete Hegseth shared information in that Signal chat, information that put mission operations and servicemen and women at risk about a pending military operation in Yemen that took place in March of this year. The Defense Department's Inspector General finds that while the mission ultimately was not jeopardized, Pete Hegseth violated his department's own policies when he used Signal, a commercial messaging app that is not approved for sharing classified information. The Inspector General's report, scheduled to be published on Thursday, was described at The Atlantic by numerous U.S. officials familiar with its findings. Now, while that controversy ultimately led to Michael Waltz being removed from his position as Donald Trump's first national security advisor, Pete Hegseth and the White House have maintained that he did nothing wrong. The Pentagon's chief spokesperson today called the Inspector General report a total exoneration of Hegseth. It's important to remember that if anybody did this who was not named Pete Hegseth, like any of the men and women farther down the chain of command, those men and women would be thrown out of the military and almost certainly face criminal prosecution.
Pete Hegseth is the most embarrassing figure in Donald Trump's. The leaks start coming, and they don't stop coming, because of course they don't. That's Pete Hegseth's entire tenure in one sentence. A walking, talking security breach with a title. The worst member of this administration, and believe me, that's a competitive bracket, but apparently not the only one who treats national security like a group chat. Now, J.D. Vance, of all people, is unveiling what he thinks about Pete Hegseth's moronic text message leak. And it's a brutal indictment, not just of Pete, but of how little he ever cared about the job he was pretending to do. Vance's texts are just the latest entry in the ever-growing charge sheet around Hegseth, one more tally mark in a career that's circling the drain faster every day. And we're going to get into all of it. But before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already and you enjoy our channel, hit that subscribe button because it goes a long way in supporting our work. Now, before we get into the leaked text messages from Vance, which are, again, just another damning indictment of Pete Hegseth and another tick on the chart of why the criminality is catching up to him, I want to start with Rachel Maddow's breakdown of all the crimes Pete Hegseth is now staring down and why this should be the end for him.
Here, but there's not a story that I've more desperately wanted to talk to you about since this post story just blew this unbelievable fact out into public view, and I wonder your thoughts on all of it.
I am disturbed by this, I think, as everybody is. I was taking a step back from this, Nicole. I don't understand why we're going to war with Venezuela. And I'm not sure the administration has even bothered to try to come up with anything even internally coherent in terms of explaining why Trump has proclaimed that we are at war with Venezuela. My sense is that they wanted to use the Alien Enemies Act to illegally deport people, arrest and deport people from this country that actually weren't subject to deportation. They decided the Alien Enemies Act was a way to do that. They then realized the Alien Enemies Act required a war, so then they declared a war. Then they needed a reason for the war, so then they reverse engineered some sort of reason for the war. Ostensibly right now, the reason for the war is to stop drug trafficking into the United States. Today, the man convicted of the largest volume of drug trafficking in the history of the United States was just freed from prison by Donald Trump, the former president of Honduras. So clearly, if that's the area of focus, that isn't the justification for this war. So what are we doing there in the first place? Why are we blowing out of the water and killing people in boats with outboard motors, some of which aren't even pointed towards the United States, let alone verified to have drugs on them, let alone even if they were coming to the United States and they had the capacity to reach the United States and they were filled with drugs, why isn't it possible to just interdict them the way that we do with the Coast Guard, where you go and take the drugs and then put those people on trial and investigate and then follow the drugs to their source of origin and then take care of it there? Like, none of this makes any sense. It feels like they bumbled themselves into a profoundly incoherent and illegal situation in which they decided the one true benefit they were getting out of all of it is that they were getting video game style visuals to play on Fox News and put on TikTok. And they liked that. So now they have put this admiral, the commander of Southern Command, every senior officer in that command, and all of the servicemen and women who serve there in the position of potentially being held liable for murder or war crimes until the statute of limitations on those matters runs. I don't even know what it would be. And by backing and bumbling and shambolically rambling themselves into this mess, I'm less worried about the fate of the bad guys who have gotten us here than I am about the good people who've been put in the way of this mess. And from Admiral Bradley on down. And it's a catastrophe. I think Pete Hegseth, it's impossible to imagine that he survives this as Secretary of Defense. I think he must resign, and I think Republicans will ask for that ultimately once they investigate this. But this is a disaster for this generation of people serving in the United States military. And that is a tragedy more than a farce.
It is the leaks start coming, and they don't.
All right. All right, so that pretty much proves the point. You know what I'm saying? That proves the point that this is the incompetence that you see in Esau Edom in these last days, man. All right? The incompetence is real. So back to Jeremiah 49, let's go to verse 10. It says, "But I have made Esau bare. I have uncovered his secret places, and he shall not be able to hide himself. His seed is spoiled, and his brethren, and his neighbors, and he is not." All right? So let's go to Micah. This is what Esau is trying to do. This is what Esau has always been trying to do. Okay? He's done with every nation before. You know what I'm saying? And this is no different now. All right, so this is Micah chapter 2, verse 1. It says, "Woe to them that devise iniquity and work evil upon their beds. When the morning is light, they practice it, because it is in the power of their hand." You see what I'm saying? And they boast in war, because this is their blessing. This is their sword. The sword is their blessing. All right? Verse 2, "And they covet fields and take them by violence, and houses and take them away. So they oppress a man and his house, even a man and his heritage." All right? "Therefore, thus saith Yahweh, Behold, against this family do I devise an evil, from which ye shall not remove your necks, neither shall ye go heartily, for this time is evil." You see what I'm saying? "And you have been stretched out thin like a rubber band, and very soon, all right, America is going to get penetrated. America is going to be dealt with, okay? It's not going to be pretty." So I'm going to cut that there. I pray this quick lesson was edifying to the elect of the nation of Israel. This has been your brother, Zakaria Allah, branched out here in Williamsport, Pennsylvania. Closing, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Ruach HaKodesh. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, of whom I've grown in this truth under. Peace and blessings to the hopeful elect. Shalom.